Have to answer.
Okay.
Okay, let's start off with the basics. Your last name is, and please spell it.
My last name is Sinnett, S-I-N-N-E-T-T.
And your first name is?
Amy, A-M-Y, but I go by Karon.
Okay, and your middle initial is?
K.
Okay, very good. What year were you born?
1955.
Okay. Where was home before the military?
In Jeff City, Cole County.
So, obviously you were not drafted, so you enlisted?
Yes, that's kind of a funny story.
Okay.
Because I joined the military on a dare. Now, I know it's going to sound funny, but it's true. I was working 2 full-time jobs at the time. And one of the National Guard people come in every morning. And of course, I nicknamed everybody. And I called him Pickett. And he said, you know, said if you joined the Army, said you'd make a lot more money. I said, yeah, right. So anyway, he kept after me until I finally joined, or went and took all the tests and everything. And that's how I joined the military.
Now, when you joined the military, were you a nurse or did they train you to be a nurse?
Well, they trained me to be a combat air medic.
Okay.
Which is what I was for 2 years. And I love it. I mean,
now these are people who fly around in the helicopters,
right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Like, you know, you've seen the old series MASH. You know, where the helicopters come into the pad and the doctors rush out to get them. That's what I did.
Okay.
I would have been the medic on board. So there was 4 people in our flight crew. We had a pilot, co-pilot, crew chief, and of course a medic. And each helicopter had that.
Okay.
So
now, were you stationed here in the United States or were you stationed abroad?
I was stationed here.
Okay. So you said you did that for 2 years. How long were you in the military?
I was in the military for 7 years.
Okay. So after you were a combat medic for 2 years, then what happened?
I started working for the National Guard, so naturally they wanted to transfer me to state headquarters.
Okay.
Because I was a procurement specialist, or purchasing agent is a correct term for it. But anyway, they transferred me to state headquarters.
Okay.
So, and I was there for 5 years.
And then your job at state headquarters was procurement. What does that mean?
That means buying any and every supply that you can think of that the military needs.
So what made you get out of the military?
Honestly, it became too political. I was actually sitting 1 grade over, and when I say grade, of course military people, you know, they can relate to this, but I was like 1 rank higher than I was supposed to be for the position that I had.
Okay.
And in order for me to get promoted, I would have had to change jobs again, and I just wasn't interested.
Okay. Now, you were in the Army, so where did you do your basic?
I did my basic at Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
And then after that, what type of, you were a combat medic, so where did you go train for that?
I went to Fort Sam Houston, Texas, and out of San Antonio.
Okay. Seems like that's kind of ground zero for most of the medics. We've interviewed a couple of people who were in the medical field in more recent times, and they said they were also part of Fort Sam Houston. When you got out of the military, were you a nurse at that time?
No, I never was a nurse. I'm still not a nurse.
Okay.
I've been in the medical field so long, it's what I know. When I got out of the military, I went to work at Memorial Hospital, the old Memorial Hospital, as just a nurse's aide. So.
Now, do you still stay in touch with the people who you were part of the military with, whether it be here in Jefferson City or when you were on the active Army?
I stay in touch with Danny. He was our lead medic because he is local here, and I do run into him from time to time. He works at one of the auto supply stores here. Okay. He has since retired from the military.
Okay.
So
after you got out of the military, what did you want to do once you got out?
Well, I thought I wanted to be a nurse, you know, because like I said, you know, I've been in medical for so long, you know, but once I really got to looking into it, it just wasn't my cup of tea. And I don't know, just taking care of people seems to be my niche anyway, you know, so being a nurse's aide or like a med tech like I am now, that suits me just fine.
So, are there any memories that you have either of being in the Army or the National Guard that you still remember to this day?
Oh yeah, I mean, you always remember your friendships from basic training. I mean, even though I don't have contacts with them, I can look back at my group photo that I had, because it's huge. And, you know, because like I said, I nickname everybody that I'm, you know, close with anyway. And, you know, I'll say, well, I wonder what Red's doing, you know, or I wonder what so-and-so's doing now, you know. But, I mean, we do lose track of people, you know, because it's been 30 plus years, you know, since I was in the military.
Now, about what years were you in the military?
I was in from 1980 to 1987.
So that would have been during the end of the Cold War, and that would be during Mr. Reagan's administration. Is there anything that could have happened, or is there anything that happened overseas that might have affected you here? I know that was a time of a military buildup.
Well, since I was working as, you know, at state headquarters as a purchasing agent, the thing that I remember most was getting the units ready to go to Panama. Because, see, I had to buy all their medical supplies to get them ready to go, you know, out of country.
Okay.
And that was the biggest thing. I mean, I worked with Colonel Wolf. He was there at state headquarters. And just stuff like that, you know. I mean, that's what I basically remember. And, you know, all the contracts for the various summer camps that I had to set up, buying fuel, both for not only the vehicles, but the aircraft as well. You know, you had to arrange for deliveries of that. Just, you know, it's just small stuff that I remember, you know.
Did you enjoy your time in the military?
I did. Mainly, it was the camaraderie. It's like any job, you know. I mean, yeah, it does have its limitations, you know, but by the same token, you know, you can have fun no matter what you're doing, you know.
Would you recommend to young ladies today that they think about the military, to investigate the military?
I would. Several of my nieces have joined the military. Several of my cousins have joined the military, and I'm very proud of them. And they have been, like, to Afghanistan and all that. See, I never had that,
Yeah.
you know. And, I mean, I worried about them while they were in country, but thank God they all made it home, you know. And I'm just very proud of my military history.
And I'm assuming that they went into a variety of military occupations?
Yes. The niece that entered first, she went in as an MP.
Okay.
And she was over in Afghanistan. And once she finished her tour, then she taught classes at Fort Wood until her enlistment was up. And several of my cousins, I had several that were like in special forces that jumped out of aircraft. I mean, I love to fly, but I'm not jumping out of an aircraft.
Don't want to jump out of a perfectly good aircraft, that's right.
No.
That sounds real good. Well, why don't we open up that book you brought?
Okay.
And I'm going to change the field of view on this slightly.
Okay.
And let's just kind of...
I've got two pictures. They're both from when I worked at state headquarters, because this was my crew.
Okay. Now we need to turn them so that...
I don't know how you...
That's fine. That's fine. So this was at state headquarters.
Yes.
And who is receiving what? It looks like somebody's receiving a...
Yes, that's Bill Perry. He was our lead purchasing agent. This is Bill Perry right here.
Okay.
And I don't know what kind of accommodation. It might be right before he retired. This was our boss. This was Colonel Wilson. And this is Bill Perry. He was our lead purchasing agent. Mitch, I can't remember what Mitch's last name was, but he was a contracting officer. Susan Mankin was a purchasing agent like me. Way in the back here is Patsy Huth, She was a purchasing agent that I trained. And then right behind our boss is Lisa Heisland. She was our secretary, who later became a purchasing agent.
Okay.
This is Steve Deaton. He was technically assigned to the Air Force, but he was assigned to our office in the contracting part. And this is Corny Earhart. He was a contracting officer.
Okay.
And of course, the little picture that I have is basically the same thing. It's just us girls, but I don't know whether you can see that.
I can see it great.
Okay. And this is Shirley Zabinden. She was our secretary. This is Patsy Huth, purchasing agent. Carrie Rinkmeyer, another purchasing agent. Lisa Heisland, she was a purchasing agent and later became the contracting officer. And of course myself. And I was also a purchasing agent.
Wow. What else you got in there?
Okay, let's see.
You said these were your ranks and medals.
Mm-hmm. These are my sergeant's bars. And of course these were the insignias for state headquarters. And of course this was our, we had, whenever you wore your Class A's, you know, you had your U.S. Medallion on one collar. You had your staff insignia on the other here. This was what we wore on our old-timey berets that we used to have as women. And of course these are my ribbons. And like I said, I remember my first ribbon and my last ribbon of all things. My first ribbon, this is the one they give you after basic training right here.
Okay.
And then I had to go through NCO school because I was an E5, a sergeant. And this was my last ribbon here.
Okay.
So, but these others, I don't remember what they were for.
Well, we took a picture of them. Maybe somebody who looks at it can say, oh, I know that answer right there. Sometimes
and
that's...
I think that's it. That's all I have. I don't have my, those are the ones I wore on my shirt.
Okay.
My,
Got your... Well, that's very good. That's very good. Okay, so I'm going to turn it off.
okay.